Aloha kakayaka, this is Archie Kalepa from OluKai. I'm gonna jump on board Mānaiakalani, leaving the shores of Lahaina town and heading to the beautiful island of Lana'i. Uncle Saul Kaho'ohalahala will be joining us on this trip. He'll be sharing with us some mo'olelo about a place called Kalaihi. Mo'olelo is a form of storytelling that is passed down from generation to generation. That was how we gained our knowledge. I'm excited to take part in this journey, crossing this channel to take us to the actual place and talking about the mo'oku auhau, the genealogy of this place and the people on Lana'i. So we're gonna listen to the mo'olelo from Uncle Saul Kaho'ohalahala.
Aloha, my name is Kolomona Pili Kaho'ohalahala, and I come from the island of Lana'i. I like to begin with the story of Ka'ulula'au. This is our beginning story of how the island of Lana'i becomes our home. And they say that Ka'ulula'au was a kolohe boy, and he lived in Lele, or Lahaina. And his father was the chief, and his name was Kaka'alaneo. Lele was known for its groves of ulu tree because it's an important food. They talk about him climbing onto the ulu trees of Lele. And then when people were passing below the tree, he would look at them and toss the ulu to them. And then when they're planting the ulu, they say Ka'ulula'au comes behind them and he starts pulling them out of the ground. They would go to his father and said, this boy is kolohe. If he keeps doing this, we're not going to have ulu. You must discipline your son. And so the father decides to banish Ka'ulula'au to the island of Lana'i. At that time, no one lives on Lana'i, only the lapu, the spirits. That very first day he's on the shorelines of Lana'i, the lapu come and they ask, "Hey, Ka'ulula'au, where will you sleep tonight?" And he, knowing that these are probably the lapu of the island because they know him by his name, and he says to them, tonight I'm going to sleep where the nalu is breaking right on the papa in the shallow waters. Ka'ulula'au's aumakua, his family spirits, come to him and they say, "Ka'ulula'au, if you walk along the shorelines and you come to the place that's called Kalaihi, you will find a cave there. If you enter into that cave, the lapu cannot find you." He finds Kalaihi and the cave and he sleeps in the cave. The lapu, they go looking for him and they're going to the ocean. They cannot find him. On the following morning, he's standing there on the shorelines and the lapu come to him and say, "Ka'ulula'au, where were you last night? We looked for you." And he said, I changed my mind. Instead of sleeping where the nalu is small, I decided to go farther out where the nalu is huge, and that is where I slept. So the following evening, the lapu, they go out farther into the nalu that's large, and some of them are drowned. And so Ka'ulula'au knows now that he needs to get rid of the spirits of Lana'i. Otherwise, they're going to get rid of him. On a ridge that's next to Kalaihi, there is a hale there, and the spirits of Lana'i gathered in that hale, and they were drunken on ava. And when they had fallen asleep in the hale, Ka'ulula'au came, and with the sap of the ulu, he glued their eyelids shut, and then they couldn't open their eyes. And when their eyes were all sealed and shut, he lit that hale afire, and it says that the 400 eyes have perished. So the place name given today is Makalau, after the 400 eyes of the lapu. And the people across the water at Lele look back on Lana'i and they see a flicker of light. And so they go to Kaka'alaneo and they said, "Perhaps that's your son." So he sends the canoes back to Lana'i. And sure enough, when they arrive, there is Ka'ulula'au standing on the shoreline and they bring him back to Lele. When he arrives in Lele, he tells them of how he has now gotten rid of all the lapu of Lana'i. And he is celebrated as the hero. And then the people of Lele accompany him to come back and inhabit the island of Lana'i. And we are thankful that Ka'ulula'au, that kolohe boy from Lele, came to take the lapu from our island. What is important for us to know is that the story of Ka'ulula'au is about a genealogy of people, the Mo'oku'auhau, and so he is a real person. The story continues by the people that inhabit Lana'i. The generations that follow him take on the responsibility to care for that aina, or that land. They cultivate it, they farm it, they continue to connect themselves to the ocean because most of the food comes from the sea. So this connection of Māuka becomes important. Part of our responsibility today ties us back to our cultural history that gives us responsibility for a place. And so while Ka'ulula'au helped to bring us to the island of Lana'i, we need to malama our place to ensure that we can continue to be on Lana'i